Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series, Daily Dave with your friend Dave. You know that guy Dave from Canada? This is him, the guy talking right now. His name is Dave. This is the Daily Dave. Hope you're doing well. It's like the middle of October when I'm recording this. 2024, the middle of October. My goodness. We just had Thanksgiving here in Canada. So we're all thankful and such. To our American friends, you know, you don't do your Thanksgiving till like November. So what's up with that? Anyways, October is Thanksgiving in Canada and we're excited. We've had a good couple days off and my wife and I went to Niagara Falls. I have Living the Next Chapter, my author podcast, and sometimes my amazing author guests will send me a copy of their book, which is awesome. If you like books, start a podcast about books. You'll get free books. And what I do, and maybe this is an idea for you in your show, if you do anything like interviewing an author, for example, when authors do send me books, I live near Niagara Falls. You know, this big hill, lots of water. So what I do is I take their books to Niagara Falls and take some pictures of the U.S. Falls and Canadian Falls and feature their books in the pictures. So it's a way of honoring my guests, being grateful for a free book they send me, which is kind of them. Sometimes it's expensive to mail a book, by the way. And these people from around the world send me books. So I took pictures of people who have books and they're from Australia. The chances of them coming to Niagara Falls pretty slim, but their book made it there. So that's one thing I do. And Jen and I yesterday went and did that. A lot of walking. It's a lot of walking, everyone, when you go to Niagara Falls. But I got the weirdest looks from the tourists as we brought a suitcase full of books. There's got to be, 35 books that we took pictures of, something like that. And we just prop them up on this rock, and it overlooks the falls. And we just switch out the books and take pictures. People around us are looking at us. Like, what are these two doing? Anyway, it's a great chance to talk to people and tell them, oh, I have a podcast. That's why I have all these books. But it's really kind of cool to go out there and celebrate people that you connect with. And I think having an interview podcast is a great way for you to make connections with new people and grow your community. So I love my Living the Next Chapter podcast. If you've never heard it, it's over 480 episodes, getting close to 500 by the end of this year. And it's only about 3 years old. It's a fun podcast. The most fun for me in that show as the host is I'm not an author. I've never written a book. So I'm just a curious reader who wants to know more about the story behind the book. So if you're interested in books or you're an author and you want to check out my Living the Next Chapter podcast, go to livingthenextchapter.com. It's right there in the name. And I'd love for you to come check it out. A couple housekeeping things here now that we're in the middle of October. November's coming. Now remember, November is National Podcast Post Month. What does that mean? That is where we do an episode a day for the entire month of November. Yeah, 30 episodes in a row, everybody. 30. All right. I've been working on this since August, and 3 of my 8 podcasts are participating in National Podcast Post Month. So there's going to be 90 episodes going out combined across 3 shows. Yeah, 90 episodes in 1 month. How's that? And yes, I have a full-time job. Just if you're keeping track at home. So that's what's going out. So I've put out a call to the How to Podcast family through emails. What I've been doing is going through the guests from the beginning of the podcast, working my way through the email list. If you haven't heard from me yet and you want to participate, I have 3 podcast-related questions that could help another podcaster, and I'm looking for people to volunteer by going to SpeakPipe on my website, howtopodcast.ca, and answer 3 questions. Now, if you're like, I want to do that, then reach out to me, like, as soon as possible, because I need to have time to put all this together. But I'd love to feature you in the month of November by having you answer the question of the month. So howtopodcast.ca is where to find that. And I'd love to include you in this. You'll get your own special episode where you can talk about your podcast, you can talk about your show, what you do, how to find you, all that great stuff. And then answer 3 questions which could help a podcaster. If you're interested, reach out to me through howtopodcast.ca and let's get you a part of the November 30 days in a row release schedule for the How to Podcast series. Okay? If you haven't thought about doing this National Podcast Post Month thing, then think about it for next year. It's a great way to get in front of your audience, give them a flood of content, and celebrate with all the other podcasters who are participating as we release an episode every day in the month of November. Okay? Reach out. I'd love to have you help in this, and I'd love to shine the How to Podcast spotlight on you and on your show. And all you have to do is answer 3 questions. It's not hard. It's really not that hard. And I'd love to have you there. So go check it out, howtopodcast.ca, the SpeakPipe. But first, reach out to me and email me or get in touch with me. Let me know that you want to participate, and let's get you in the mix. Thanks. So while we're doing housekeeping stuff as well, just a reminder, we have the question of the month, which is out there in the world, where you can join us on our question for the month of October. And what you do is you respond through my SpeakPipe, and you answer a question. So you're going to respond by telling me your name. You can tell me the name of your show. And you're also going to then answer the question of the month, which simply is, what was the last podcast that you recommended to someone, and why did you recommend it? Like, what was it about the show that made you want to tell somebody? What was the last podcast you recommended to someone, and why? I'd love to hear your response at howtopodcast.ca through the SpeakPipe link. And you've heard these at the end of the month. We do a recap where we bring all the answers together in one episode. We put your podcast front and center. We put links to you and your show in the show notes. And we encourage the How to Podcast family to go check out your show. And that's one of the most common questions I get in one-on-one time with podcasters or online is, Dave, how do I get in front of more people? Well, this is like the most easiest way, simply by answering the question of the month, that you can get in front of more people. So I'm answering your question by providing an opportunity for us to hear about your show. And it's interesting. We send this out, and I know you're listening. I can see you in the stats. So I know you're there. But I would really love to hear your response. I know you haven't responded once yet in the multiple months we've been doing this. And you're always like, oh yeah, gee, I forgot again. Jeez. Yeah, so this is the month where you're not going to forget. It's October. It's the middle of the month. Okay? Smack in the middle of the month. You have time. And I'd love to have you respond to the question of the month, because we need to hear your answer. We want to hear what you think and what you have to say. And we want to know about your podcast. So howtopodcast.ca, you're going to tell me your name, the name of your show, and you're going to answer the question, what was the last podcast that you recommended to someone, and why did you recommend it? Okay? It can be any podcast. So do that today. Reach out, respond, let me know so I can put you in the summary response episode at the end of the month. With all the other amazing podcasters who respond, your voice needs to be in the mix, and we want to send people to your show. And the only way it's going to happen is if you actually respond. Now, I know a very tiny, small percentage of my audience will ever respond to anything, like 1 to 3%. So if there's 100 listeners, then like 3, maybe 1, 2, or 3 people will ever respond to anything that I ask on the show. But you guys are better than that. I know that because you respond very well to these, and I want to make it valuable to you. So that's the reason why we're doing it. I want people to find your show. And I'm using the questions and all that as just an excuse to get you to respond. But I want people to hear about you and your show. So go to howtopodcast.ca, SpeakPipe again. Should have like a drinking game every time Dave says SpeakPipe. So go do that today so that we can include you in the episode at the end of the month. All right? What was the last podcast you recommended to someone and why? Tell us about your show. And let's have you participate this month. Come on, this is the month you're going to do it. I know. Do it now. And one last thing as we kind of wrap up here on our little Daily Dave or housekeeping episode. I have one little podcasting tip at the end. So you got to stick around for that. Or you got to try to fast forward and find it on your phone. Or you can just listen to the podcast. So here's one last piece of housekeeping before my podcast tip for you and your show. We have this other thing called Meetups on Saturdays right now. Every Saturday, we get together with podcasters from around the world. People who are the best people you'll ever meet. People that you would love to have come to your house and hang out with you for the afternoon. These people are awesome. And they're all at different stages. So if you're like, oh, I haven't even started yet, so I wouldn't be welcome in this group. Yes, there are people who come to our meetups and don't even have a podcast. It's true. And there are people who've been podcasting like forever. So you're welcome. And there's a lot of great people there. And there's no judgment. It's all community-based. It's all the knowledge of the group rather than just the knowledge of one person who comes off as arrogant and opinionated and their way is the only way. You know those podcasts. I can give you a list if you want it. That's not what we do there. We come together as a group and help each other. We have a topic for the day. We go through our meetups and we learn from each other and then we ask questions of the group. So you're welcome to come anytime. It's free. It's totally free for you. It costs me money, but it's free for you, and I'd love for you to come and be a part of our meetup groups. Again, as always, howtopodcast.ca. Remember the .ca part, because I'm in Canada. Howtopodcast.ca. Go there, check it out. All the information's there. We'd love to have you come and join us in our meetups. And to wrap it up, so it's not just a big giant commercial about the howtopodcast.ca website. Here's a tip for you. I had a great conversation with Alex Sanfilippo from Podmatch recently on the show, and Alex and I were having a conversation, and the topic of, your audience growth and everything came up, and I kind of made a comment which caught Alex a little by surprise, and he liked it. So I thought I'd share it with you as well if you haven't heard that episode. And it basically was equating like Alex, who's a speaker at podcast conferences and things, and him imagining going into a big room full of podcasters and expecting there to be like, say, 300 people, but there's 20. And then Alex then saying to the group, oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. Looks like attendance is low. I'm sorry to keep you here for this. We'll just reschedule when there's more people. And I said something along the lines of, don't look over the heads of your audience to the seats, the empty seats behind them, and then get all upset that you don't have a big enough group. Never look over the heads of your audience and wish there were more people. Focus on the people that are there. There's a reason why they're there and they love you. So whether you have one listener or 20 or 21 listeners, whatever it is, whatever that number is, that should never be a discouragement. I hear some pretty amazing things out there in the space that if you don't have 1,000 people in 7 days listening to your show, you're a failure as a podcaster. And what I'd like to say to that person who says that as a podcast guru teaching podcasting, you're wrong. Because unless you're here to build a big six-figure business around your podcast, which many of us, the majority of us, aren't, having one listen is the world. So don't get discouraged when you look at your stats and go, man, I was really expecting more. Expect what you can do, expect what you can deliver, and do your best to serve your audience. And never look over the heads of your audience. But look them in the eye, be grateful for every interaction, and show them as much love and as attention as you can. And that's how you grow your show, one listener at a time. Howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode. Get ready. November is going to be busy. Lots and lots of episodes. They're all for you. Thanks for listening. Take care. Keep podcasting. Keep being you. We need more of you in this world.